A lot of people don't think about how much turnover costs them, or they know it does, but they're like, but I'm still small, so maybe I can't really, this is just the price you pay for, being a smaller, business. And I'm like, no, that's not really it. So tell us a little bit about how the other costs of turnover that maybe our clinic owners aren't thinking about.
Yeah. So I guess it depends on how you acquire, you first hire people, right? So you have to think about the channels you pay for get resumes. So some people might do like an Indeed, or some people might have a headhunter, right? So those are the sort of the very obvious fees that you pay to get a new hire. But then there's also onboarding costs. And then there's training costs. And how long does it take for the person to be fully up to speed? So I'd say those are like the direct costs. And then you have the indirect costs of, are they contributing to a positive culture? Are they detracting from a positive culture? Are they helping lower your error rate? Or are they raising your error rate? One of the things that goes into a lot of the calculations, you can kind of do two kinds. Like I said, you can do this direct kind of calculation, or this indirect. And that's sort of like, the thing's a little bit harder to quantify, but then you add it to the direct. And I think the main issue is that it's just really important to understand what you're spending on turnover costs. And I think for a lot of, and really small businesses, big businesses, what they kind of do is they'll look at turnover as an individual problem, not as a systemic problem. And so it's not like, oh, it only costs maybe 30% of this person's salary to rehire another person. That may be true, but how many people are you rehiring in a year? And what if that whole expense of rehiring and training and, culture drag, what if you had to spend any of that money, and how much could you reinvest that into the business? You could either reinvest that in like R&D, in equipment, in salaries, in rent. There are all these different things you could do. And so it's not just that you're not spending on hiring more people, but it also means that the people you have are firing on all cylinders. And you're more likely to be just rocking and rolling and having a low drama environment than if you keep having people come and go. And so a lot of times people say, of course I want that. Why wouldn't I want that? But what people don't exactly realize it's just because we just don't know. I mean, it's kind of new research, but that there's a lot of human capital research that shows there's a relationship between professional development of employees, meaning helping them grow to the next level or helping them get better at a deficiency. So that's sort of like two definitions that kind of have. There's a relationship between that and people staying. And it's kind of, there are stories about this from, the Navy. There's stories about this from Kmart or small businesses. It's really everywhere, because it's like humans want to grow and they want to get better and they want the opportunity to grow. And it used to be when we were young employees that our bosses thought, well, I'm not going to pay for you to get better at your job because that will just make you more valuable and then you'll leave. That was like a very common baby boomer perspective.
Very much. Mm-hmm.
Right. And what's funny is that now Gen Z employees expect to be developed on the job. And if they don't have it, they leave. And so what's funny is that, so what's happening is that if people are developed on the job, they're less likely to leave. And it's kind of it's the opposite of what the baby boomers kind of thought. And I think the reason is that perspective had been very widget driven. Like, oh, well, this person's not working out. It's their fault. Let's just get another person. Maybe it's a systemic problem, And so if you start to address the systemic issues and make it work for everyone, then you have people who really see and treat the business as their own business and are trying to find efficiencies, find savings, do things better. And then once you have that kind of ownership, it's crazy easy to hire other people, and they might bring in a friend or an old colleague, and you might end up spending zero on recruiting because it's so easy to pull in great people because everyone wants to work at a place where they're rocking and rolling and keep getting promoted or, making a big impact. They can talk about the sales they drove at this organization or whatever. It's really finding a way to help them grow And then the other part I just add is, probably, as people listening to this, they're probably thinking, oh my God, that's so expensive. I don't have the money for this. And here's the thing. It can be expensive, but the way to think about it really is it's not like you're buying everyone and who works with you like a new couch. You're investing in your business. So whatever you do to make them better at their job, that also is coming down to the bottom line in your business. So even if you're spending like $1,000 a person per year, $500 a person per year, that compounds to your organization. So it's not like money's flying out the door, it returns. And so that's the way to really think about it.